Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and welcome to Out of the Park Baseball 23. This is going to be an epic series. This is one of the big ones that I have on board for the channel. I've been preparing for this one for a long time, and this is not your run-of-the-mill baseball league as you would get in a typical OOTP series. So for those of you who are not terribly familiar with baseball, as a very large chunk of my audience are from European nations or even otherwise outside of the US. This is not your run-of-the-mill baseball. In fact, it's going to resemble the sport of football, aka soccer, a whole lot more because I have set this up in a very unique way. Before we get into the details of that, now is a great time because there's a lot of time and effort that's going into this series, and I am super stoked to bring it to you. Now's a great time to drop below, click that like button, hit subscribe, leave a comment, even if it is simply an algorithm comment. I still have a fairly small channel, and it really takes your help to get it going. The last couple of new series that I've gotten underway, I've had great participation from those of you who came and saw that first episode in clicking that like button, in leaving that comment below that led to the algorithm not taking off with it, but at least giving it the hint of a boost, which definitely brought in some new viewers to the channel. And I would love to see the same thing happen here. Now, let's get into the breakdown of what this is going to be. First off, the team that I am managing, the Eugene Olympians. Now, little background on Eugene and the Olympians and where our mascot has come from and how it ties into, well, the channel in general. First off, Eugene is in the state of Oregon. It's a couple hours south of Portland, and I was born in Portland. I come from the area, even though I live in the Washington side, across the border from Portland now as an adult, and largely grew up here on this side. But Eugene is the home of the University of Oregon. I attended the University of Oregon, so I spent a lot of time in Eugene, so there's one connection on that piece. But also the channel, as Decathlon Gamer. The Decathlon is an Olympic event. 10 athletes compete in 10 events, and you take a cumulative score out of those 10 to determine the winner. It is one of the meccas of the Olympics. Used to be, decades ago, the most popular event at the Olympics. In recent times, it's faded in popularity a bit, which is a shame. But at the time that I was at the University of Oregon, one of the students, one of the top track athletes, was in the decathlon. He went on to win the decathlon multiple times at the Olympics and held numerous records until recently. He still holds a couple records. That connection further went down the rabbit hole when a certain Phil Knight, the co-founder of Nike, for those who don't know who Phil Knight is, he attended the University of Oregon. He was on the track team. Eugene is known as Tracktown, USA, largely because of the coach of Oregon's track team back then, Bill Bowerman, who was the other co-founder. Bill Bowerman was the one who came up with using this compound rubber in a waffle iron maker. In a waffle iron, he made shoes for his athletes. Phil Knight then turned that into a business model and formed Nike. Now, all of that came back to Eugene being extremely good, University of Oregon being extremely good in track and field. Some of the greatest Olympians in the history of the sport came through that program, came through that city. And the U.S. Olympic trials have been hosted in Eugene 7 times, including 4 straight, the last 4 straight. So the Eugene Olympians is who we are going to be taking on in this. Now, Eugene's not a huge city, so how would Eugene be a part of Major League Baseball? We are, but we also aren't, because we play in the professional league, which is the third tier of this homebrewed Major League Baseball system that I've created. I've created a World Baseball League that is going to have 3 versions of Major League Baseball. Your 30 teams in that top division, along with their minor leagues. Below that is the Championship League with an additional 30 teams and all of their minor leagues. And below that is the Professional League, where we will be starting with 30 teams and a minor league system to go along with it. So we have taken Major League Baseball and turned it into a 30-team system with no pro reg into a 90-team, 3-tier system that is going to see promotion and relegation. Now, the way the promotion and relegation is going to work, as we take a look here at the real Major League Baseball teams, they will still have their rosters that they begin with here in 2022. This 30-team league is going to have a slightly shortened season. We'll get to why that is here in a little bit. But they're going to play 144 games, and they're going to have standard playoffs, just like they would any other year. But at the end of the season, the bottom 2 teams in the American League and the bottom 2 teams in the National League are both going to be relegated out of Major League Baseball. Where they land is the Championship League. Here is that Championship League. The Championship League has been set up. You have the Patriot League and the Loyalist League. So just like the major leagues above them, they're split into 2 separate leagues, 3 divisions, 5 teams each, so 15 and 15. Now they are going to also have that same slightly shortened season to what we're used to from Major League Baseball, and that is going to be 144 games, so 18 games shorter than a traditional Major League system. But again, I'll come back to why that is in a little bit. But they're going to play out that season, and they're going to have standard playoffs as we are used to seeing at the Major League level. And there is going to be 2 teams from each of these leagues that are going to achieve promotion. They will be promoted up to Major League Baseball, replacing those 4 teams coming down. Likewise, as this is the middle tier of our 3-tier system, the bottom 4 teams, 2 from each league, are going to be relegated at the end of the season. So this is going to be the most active league, with 4 teams going up and 4 teams going down. And from this professional league, we're going to see 4 teams go up to replace the 4 relegated teams. But just like the other 2 leagues, we're going to have a 144 game season and traditional playoffs at the end of the year. One difference about this league compared to the others, for those who are familiar with Major League Baseball, there used to be 2 teams from outside of the United States that participated in the league. In recent years, that dropped to just one of those teams. That is the Toronto Blue Jays, and the other team, the Montreal Expos, have been revived. And actually, a pronounced effort has been made to make this a World Baseball League, at least to an extent. You could only do so much regarding travel before things are going to get way out of hand. However, there has been a significant expansion when these 2 new leagues came on board and all these cities put together teams. A lot of larger cities in the U.S. stepped up, and the Championship League took an all-U.S. set of 30 cities. There were a couple cities existing already within Major League Baseball, big cities like New York, where Brooklyn was able to add a 3rd team to the New York area. But largely, larger cities that didn't already have a team, such as Portland, which is by market the 25th largest in the United States. There's 30 teams in Major League Baseball. The 25th largest made perfect sense to add to the list. But that second league took nothing but U.S. cities to make that happen. The third league, though, the professional league, they went for a much more diverse flavor. And they have added 5 new Canadian teams in a division all of their own. For one thing, this is the International League, where we have a U.S. league on the other side with 15 U.S.-based teams. But in this International League, we have 5 Canadian teams: Winnipeg, Calgary, Vancouver, the Montreal Expos making their return, and the Ottawa Capitals. Then there's a Caribbean division, 4 teams based in the Caribbean and 1 on the shoreline of the Caribbean. You have Cancun on that shoreline, Matanzas in Cuba, Santo Domingo, San Juan, and Havana. So the Dominican Republic, Cuba, 1 Mexican team, and a team from Puerto Rico all joining in. Now, all of those teams are based on real-world teams, some of the best teams that exist within those nations. Finally, we have the Latin American division with Guadalajara, Mexico City, and then all the way down into Panama for Panama City, Caracas, Venezuela getting involved, and then a third team from Mexico in the Monterrey Sultans. Now, those 3 plus Cancun, those 4 teams all play in the Mexican Professional League and are definitely 4 of the biggest teams. It has been agreed upon among the league commissioners that upon promotion and relegation, these divisions will be reshaped in the future. These teams are eligible for promotion. They will play alongside U.S. teams upon when that happens. Those teams that are relegated will fill those slots down here, and the league will continue on as is. So yes, it might start shaped out with a flavor of Central/Latin America, Caribbean region, Canadian teams, but in time it will all just blend together, and quite possibly we'll see a renaming of those divisions down the road. Now, playing in the U.S. League West Division will be the Eugene Olympians. The other 4 teams that are in our division are the Boise Broncos, the Reno Silver, the Tacoma Thunderdogs, and the San Jose Big Cats. We have had a small draft of all remaining free agents that existed in Major League Baseball. That brought 11 to 12 players to each of the 60 new clubs, which is nowhere near enough to fill out, as that isn't even, that's half of just your Major League team. Does nothing to help with your minor league system. And so we have already generated new players to help fill out those rosters, and we're going to see how things go when I start playing the games. Right now, the minor league rosters are empty for these 2 other leagues. If I get blocked, I will have to go in to each of those leagues and generate players. It's going to take me some time. I would rather see it fill out over a longer stretch, as in over seasons, and not immediately. But we'll see if it forces me to. So that'll depend on how things progress here in the early stages. But I told you there was a reason why we were dropping down to 144 games in the regular season. The playoffs, of course, are going to carry on as normal. But now, every year in March, as in what would be your normal preseason time, every March there is going to be a tournament. a large-scale tournament that involves all 90 professional teams. The way this tournament is going to be played out is they are going to be split up randomly from the 90 into 16 divisions. Now, the best place to play baseball in March, for those who don't know, is Tucson, Arizona. There's 2 preseason areas. The other in Florida is significantly smaller in terms of the teams that participate. So a lot of the teams spend their spring training in Tucson. Takes the travel out of it. Everybody travels to Tucson, and then everybody travels back home to start the season. They save a lot of money that way. And then there are, over the Tucson, Arizona area, there are numerous ballparks where they all have their own places to practice, and then they play their preseason games against each other in these small stadiums across the area. And again, that cuts down costs significantly by cutting out travel. We're going to host a tournament in Tucson annually, so every year, every March, where all 90 teams are going to be divided up into 16 divisions, and they are going to play 10 games. A little more than half, 10 of the 16 divisions, have 6 teams. The others will have 5 teams in them. Regardless of whether it's a 6-team or a 5-team division, they will play a 10-game schedule. So theoretically, those in the 6-team divisions, they'll get 2 games against each other, against each team. In the 5-team divisions, they'll get a 3rd game against a couple of the teams. At the end of that, the winner of each division, the winner of each group, will progress into a playoff. No wild cards, just the group winners. Those 16 teams will play a best of 3 to cut it down to 8, and then a best of 3 to cut it down to 4, a best of 3 to cut it down to a championship, and the tournament winners will play a best of 5 to be that tournament winner. So the finals, that is. And that's the World Baseball Tournament held yearly. I am super excited by what is to come. This is the equivalent of your FA Cup. You have promotion, something that has long been due in American sports, but as they are very much for profit, they fear relegation. Those below love the idea of promotion and they want the system. Those fans who know enough about promotion relegation and have seen it in action in other sports outside of the U.S. demand that it is brought to the U.S., most anyway. Those unfamiliar with it, or in particular those who are afraid of losing money, those who are in the position to make the decision, prolong the inevitable. But we bring it to the sport, and this is going to be a lot of fun. Now, the first season or two could be slightly chaotic as the rosters kind of properly fill themselves out. The one key difference between the 3 leagues, and it's not very key, but is a difference, is the league reputation. Major League has a reputation of 10. The Championship League has a reputation of 8, and the Professional League has a reputation of 6. Further down the tiers you go in real life, that's how that should work. Theoretically, we should have players not quite as strong. We should have a little less pull getting after free agents. We might have smaller audiences showing up, smaller attendances for our games. So we'll see how well that plays out if it stays true. But let's go ahead and take a look at our Olympians team. I have ratings set to be relative to Major League Baseball for comparison for right now, and we have that mixture of the free agent pool players that weren't signed with major leaguers, and that fills up about half of our roster. And then the other half came via, random fictional players. There's only so many players, and we just tripled the size of the league, so we had to get players from somewhere. So relative to Major League Baseball, you can see we do have a couple players that can absolutely play. Reuben Flint, our shortstop, contact is 45, so you can hit the ball 70 power. He's going to hit a lot of long balls at our level, I would imagine. He's got a decent eye and plays good defense at shortstop, so he's going to do a pretty solid job, I would think, for us. It could be a contender for league MVP. Rogelio Pedrero. The unfortunate thing for us with this guy is he is 32 years of age already, so he's going to be in decline, and that could be a bit of an issue. He is similar to Flint, except poor as a defender, but there's the heart of our order guaranteed. There's your 3-4 hitters right there. Bill Flores is our closer, and then things fall off pretty quick in terms of talent. We do have a handful of players here that can almost play, that could be at the end of the roster, that may get a few innings here and there, or might yo-yo from a major league roster to AAA. But that's pretty rough that we only have a couple players, meaning to be able to compete with actual major league teams, it's going to take us quite a few years to build this roster up. Quite a few years. And this is the entire roster. I mean, Ryan Woods is the last guy on our roster, so we're looking at a whole bunch of throwaways that we're going to want to get rid of as soon as possible. These guys we're going to have to hang on to in the short term, and we're going to have to be very aggressive on the free agent market and things of that nature. One notable thing before we get in and play our first game is I've taken these 3 leagues and put them into an association with one another. So the draft that happens yearly, there will not be 3 independent drafts. There is going to be one universal draft with all 90 teams involved, which means the talent pool hopefully would be deeper, because it's going to require a lot of additional players. There's still going to be 20 rounds to the draft, but if it's organized the way I hope I've got it organized, the 30 major league teams are going to go first in their traditional order, as in worst to first, then the championship 30 in that same order, and then the professional 30, which means if we're last place, we would have the 61st pick in the first round. We would have what would that be, 150 first pick in the second round. So keep that all in mind as we get going on this one. And we're ready to begin the season on the road at the San Antonio Cattle. Here's our lineup. Here's their lineup. And let me kind of get briefly to the point here. I have my 2 outstanding talents in Flint and Pedrero. In the end, I've placed them second and third in the lineup. Sam Nance, Alex Nixon, and Amari Askew are all pretty decent players. Chad Bell, our starting pitcher, is okay. Outside of my 2 outstanding players and a handful on the roster that are okay, it falls off really quick. And I have a number of older players. My number 1 pitcher, 33. All of those better players are 28 or older. Looking at San Antonio, they are much more balanced than we are. We have some higher top-end talent, but then they, as a team, look better for the long haul. So we'll see how we perform in this first one. I'm not going to be doing too much directly managing the team. I'm going to be playing more GM in this series. As we get later on, we might take the reins on a bit more often. But for this one, nearly 40,000 on hand. Excited by the fact that this league is able to turn out large enough crowds, even though we are technically the third tier. All right, so we are just getting the game underway. Play-by-play action, just continuous. I'm not really going to handle things, too directly here, but we've already got our opener. We get a single, first guy up, but then we try to bunt, and that didn't work out so well. So we go right into a strikeout from there, and we're already down to a situation where we were looking pretty dang solid to not looking as likely to get anything here in the first, and we do not. We were able to advance the runner on a pass ball, and that was that, and we head to the bottom of the first inning. Now, looking through my lineup, the AI actually managed things pretty dang well. There was only 2 changes that I was looking to make early on, and one of those changes, upon reflection, I swapped right back to where it was. I took a reliever and thought about making him into starting pitcher, the number 4 guy in our rotation. We have 2 lefties. So basically my first and 5th best pitcher are the 2 lefties that we had in the lineup. But because that was 2 lefties and you don't want them going back to back, you want to alternate day by day, our 5th best pitcher is filling in as the number 4 guy. So that gave us the scenario that we are thought that thing might drop, but it's not. Hung up there a bit long. We're in the top of the second here, and we already opened with a single, but a double play here will quickly get them out of the inning, and we head to the bottom of the third. Early on, though, we've got a couple guys getting some singles, getting a little bit of action going, but you can definitely see that we are less than stellar at this level. This is definitely not looking like major league action. It's looking a little more like maybe a single A. No, not that bad. Double A to triple A kind of level here. Anyway, I kind of lost my train of thought, but that's going in the gap. That's going for 2. Can we hold him up to keep him away from 3? He is headed for 3, and we've got him gunned out easily. Ouch. Big mistake. He barely hit even left second, and he committed to going all the way to the third. Not great base coaching there. They really should have had the hands up, put the brakes on, and had him retreat back to second. I think he had enough time to retreat. Good luck out on that one. Top of the third opens with a strikeout. Hard ground ball down the line, but the first baseman able to reel that one in and easily make his way to the base for the out. And then a strikeout ends the inning, and we head to the bottom of the third. Scoreless in this one. Anyway, I do believe I was talking about the lineup and the changes that I made. So I swapped that 4th guy out with a reliever who had good stamina, but his impact as a starter is different than his impact as a reliever, and it lowered his ratings a little bit according to my scouting view, and therefore stuff didn't look as good upon reflection. So I went ahead and swapped those back. So starting my pitching rotation is identical to what the AI put in, meaning they've done a lot better than years past. Years ago, you really had to micromanage because the AI just did a really poor job. Here in the 23 version of Out of the Park Baseball, they were looking good because offensively they had the right 9 guys in the lineup as we get a steal there, and that's got us into scoring position with 2 outs. Let's see if we can convert. I'm not even sure who was up. It was Askew. Askew was one of our better options, but he strikes out, and we go through another inning. 3.5 played, and no runs in this game yet. But we've definitely looked more likely to get the first score, but that's a good hit into right, and we get the first guy on base. It's always a worry. Much more likely to score when that happens, but a double play here should end those hopes. It does. And we've got 2 outs and nobody on. Good performance defensively. Great diving catch by our legendary right fielder, who's actually not a good defender, hence the playing out in right. But he makes the diving catch on that one. That was Pedrero, I believe. You start learning the names of these guys. In reality, there's only one name that I'm gonna need to learn, because only one of these guys is gonna stay with us long term. Pedrero might be good for our level, but he's already well into his 30s, is not a good defender, and as a result, they don't go for turn 2 on that. I think he had enough time to do it, but he held on to that one. Ooh, beat the throw. Okay. Beat the throw. That was a pretty routine play right there, but this is the nature of the beast playing at this level. There is absolutely a handful of players that just aren't good enough for what they're trying to do. So I'm hoping that in the next season or two, we're going to start making things happen. Early on, I really wanted to see what we've got. Just how bad is it before we start making moves. For one thing, we do have rosters generated for AAA on down now, so we have players. Nice diving catch there from left. But I wanted to give that opportunity to see what the AI had for us. Now, offensive roster, that one change I made was simply swapping our leadoff hitter, as in the first batter, and the 4th or 5th batter in the lineup. Swapped those two, and then I didn't actually even need to make any further changes where they kind of fit into somebody who was a bit better chance of getting on base versus somebody who was going to maybe get a hit in the middle of the lineup. Things drop off pretty quick. Anyway, we are well into the top of the 6th now, so we've already played well over half this game, and as we head to the bottom of the 6th, time is starting to wear thin, certainly for the starters. 7th? We are into the bottom of the 7th. Okay, we just flew through the 7th. Chad Bell is still on the mound. How's he doing? Pitch count just 59, and stamina is just starting to get into the yellow, so actually he is doing quite well, giving up just 3 hits. Has him going just fine. Let's not pause and let's get things on the move again. Strike 3. Nice strikeout there. Good way to show that he has got plenty of energy left. Now, of course, you can manage bat by bat, pitch by pitch in this game. And for now, I'm really just trying to set the tone for the season to come. And we're not too worried about right now where we're at, how we're doing. We will find out in time. From the looks of things, management has us looking to finish about 500, meaning win half of our games, lose half of our games. So we are pretty neutral as far as this league on where we stand, considering how everything is generated randomly. I would say a lot of the teams are going to be pretty close to each other. There shouldn't be too many standouts, which means at least for our level, it shouldn't take too long to become a standout team, theoretically. I would assume that as we get into the first draft, as we get into the first free agency period, we should start being able to make pretty big moves. And in theory, I have an aging Pedrero who is really good that I could probably swap out for some really good prospects that are going to be more long-term beneficial to this team. I'm not looking to make the immediate rise into the second tier. I want to build a team that can win some games. If it takes me a couple of years to do it, totally fine by me. Totally fine by me. As we continue to make our way through this game, still scoreless. That is really surprising, but here we are into the bottom of the 8th inning. No, top of the 9th now. Top of the 9th, and it's scoreless. Great start to the inning, though, as we get our leadoff hitter on base. And that's going to drop in there, too. And we've got a runner into scoring position for the first time. If it were me, I would definitely be bunting these guys in and advancing them to second and third. We don't. We swing away, but there is an error. Did he even make the tag? He did not. He did not make the tag on that one. He should have. And that's through, and that's going to be the opener finally here in the 9th inning. But we're going to try to go home in a situation that really did not call for trying to score. Shallow right field. Yeah, you don't want to go from there. But is this thing, it goes deep. This would have scored the run because we easily advanced to third. That's a hit, though. That'll score. And we've turned this into at least a 2-run inning. Hold up. Okay, good thing. They did decide to hold up on that one. A lot of weird decisions on the base paths here. We should be sitting on 3 runs right now and just 1 out. Intentional. After the intentional walk, bases are loaded. And there's the strikeout to end the inning. We do damage. Could have been more, should have been more. Obviously, we should have had 3. And then we could have had more than that. And we still would have had another at-bat to work with. And now here we are in the final inning, final at-bat for San Antonio for us to open the season with a win. And there is out number 2, just 1 out away now. And this should be a routine play. It is. There's the final out. We wait till the 9th inning, but we've done it. Our first shutout, our first win. It's 2-0. Momentum always just about favored us. They only had 3 hits the entire game. We only had 8, and a lot of those did come in that final inning. But we always looked a little more dangerous than San Antonio did. But that was only slightly. And, you know, looking at the box score here, there's plenty of work left to do. But even that lower end of the lineup, you know, they produced. Askew, he's the one that I swapped with Nance, by the way. Pedrero was actually playing in left today. Flint was playing at shortstop. Okay. Didn't know that the manager had swapped them out. I told him to handle all of that. But anyway, good first game. It is a win, but there's 143 left to play. So really, 1 game, not a big deal. 8 innings from Bell. Great start to the season for him. Pitch count did get up to 97, so I understand pulling him there in the 9th. Flores getting the first save for him. Bell doing enough, hanging in there for 8 innings to get the win, even though we didn't score till the 9th inning. All right, folks. Well, 1 game is just 1 game. When you have 144 to play in the season, it doesn't mean much. That is one of the many reasons why I'm going to focus more on the general manager side than I will on the manager side of things. But it's still a good way to start, and we've got a lot of work to do. And like I said, even a Pedrero for me is very, very expendable. He might be a talented player, but he's only 1 player. I would rather see us accumulate a few, if we could get a few, strong prospects in return, because 2 players is not enough for us. And when one of them is already at the age that he's on the last year of his, actually he's on a minor league contract, but he wants to get paid. I've already gone in to look to see what we could do about signing him. He wants $40 million a year at his age. That's a lot of money. that's not the kind of contract I want to get into right now with anyone. So, yeah, I'm already thinking about moving on. Our best player. Should I? Let me know in the comments below. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.